Hey, everybody, this is Dominic DeAngelo of OneTrueSportTV.com, and I am here with the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion, the owner of the 10 pounds of gold, Mr.
That's right.
EC3. How you doing, brother?
It's good. Maybe I should have brought it on for the podcast. It's in my laundry room hanging up with my dirty gear. So
That's okay. It's the element of surprise. We need to tease people. Next interview we do, you can have it
I
on
can
there.
go get it. Well, we'll see how this goes.
Okay. All right. Well, cool, man. You've been up to, last time I interviewed you was like in 2020. So it's been a few years.
Oh, lots changed. Wasn't that the year there was a pandemic allegedly?
What? Yeah, there was a little something going on there.
Your livelihoods, and then there was a bunch of chaos, and there was riot. Yeah, what a great year. And it's only been uphill from there. It's not like
I'm always looking up now.
like democracy's failing and people are taking pot shots at political figures or the economy's going to collapse. It's fine.
It's totally okay. Everything's right as rain.
Yeah, so let's talk about wrestling.
Yeah, well, what is right as rain is you as the champ. How has that been for you? Just that whole experience of like being the title holder of such a historic belt, and then what have you learned about yourself over this course of time?
Well, I've learned I'm very persistent. I'm very relentless, but I kind of already knew that. What I've learned is I'm a beacon of hope for a lot of other aspiring professional wrestlers. So with what we're doing, this is not as champion, but what we're doing with NWA Exodus is the first territory. What I'm doing with the CYN co-op or little training compound. I was just telling my barber today asked me, tell me something amazing. And I'm like, oh, well, now I'm on the spot. And I had to think for a minute because she's hot and I didn't want to disappoint. But I told her that when a man finds a purpose or a reason for doing what he does, it's not about, fiscal gain, monetary. It's not about accolades. It's about the fulfillment you see when other people depend on you and then succeed because of what you've done, like leading them to something, and not so much being the reason they succeeded, but being the one that was able to hopefully provide them the opportunity to. So I learned that about myself. It just happened to coincide as a 3-time world heavyweight champion, first time being the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion. What I learned about that, though, is the legacy, the lineage, the history. It's daunting. It's real. It doesn't hit you till you have it, till you're holding it. But once you do hold it, you never want to let it go. And I don't. I have no intention of letting it go.
You've been on, is it 10 months you've held it now? Is that for how long?
I would say, yeah, I'm probably about 55 title defenses throughout NWA, independents, other promotions throughout the world. I just came back from Italy defending the title for the first time, I think, since the 70s, maybe. Just came back from France defending the title. A couple weeks before that, I was in Australia defending the title. A couple weeks before that, I was in Japan defending the title. In between those weeks, I was in America defending the title. My ankle's swollen. My left bicep tendon might be dislocated. My brain's shot, but I'm going to keep on going.
That's all you can do, man. And that's what has been like was there a certain moment that was very validating for you as champion, or was there something somebody said, or has it been just over the course of time, so to speak, that has validated things for you, or what?
Yeah, there's a couple validations. One being the initial holding, winning. I know Tyrus has a mixed reputation perhaps on the internet, but he's somebody I came up with. He's somebody I was in the muck and the struggle with in FCW. He's somebody that we took NXT by storm when they didn't want anything to be good or successful about it, but we made it our own, and we cultivated who we are through that show. In Impact, he was my heavy. He defended me. We eventually fought a bunch of times. I mean, he did turn on me. It was kind of Julius Caesar. Like, what that tends to happen. It's wrestling.
Really?
Yeah. So with Tyrus, I was his last match. He was retiring, and I was the one to do that. And as a friend, that means a lot. As a colleague, that means a lot. So what he told me as I was defeating him, there's a secret passing of the torch that has been established, I guess, with this NWA championship that I'm not allowed to say, but there is one. So if I am ever to lose it, which I don't plan on, I will have to return that favor to whomever defeats me. But that was the first validation. I think an interesting validation is taking the title around the world, and meeting fans. and them seeing it and what they, remember about it, their reactions when they see it, and then they're so close to it, and like you can just tell they like, do you want to hold it? It's like, can I? Yeah, sure, why not? You paid $20 for an autograph? No, but like seeing a fan's reaction to it is supreme validation in some ways, because if it means that much to them to just see it and be around it, what does it mean to hold it and to defend it? And then that means everything.
Right. And it's pretty neat in the aspect you just mentioned, traveling all around the world and doing it and getting, like, I'm sure, new competitors that you never competed against too in certain ways. And it kind of enhances everything that you're around. And like, for you to kind of be a creative vessel that you are and what you do, and have a title, a historic title onto that too, it's really the best of both worlds. And I think it was neat what you said previously too about it, like, not always just being about like money and the fiscal aspect of it all, but having the validation of helping people out and finding like that's a good fire for you too. All this culminating together is a pretty positive experience, and it speaks to more of being like a creative talent in pro wrestling. And I think that's something to really hang your hat on. Absolutely.
I think it's Jim Ross who was saying this podcast, for a wrestler, it's either about cash or it's about creative.
Right.
Hopefully both, but sometimes both don't match up.
Yep.
The creative aspect is really cool. I mean, there's more validation. Like, I'm so busy on the side with what, I'm also the champion of a major television wrestling company, right?
Yep.
So that locker room, I want to say leading it like I'm a narcissist, but like I have the title, so that is my duty and that is my honor to kind of lead that. One great validation is any person I get to step in the ring with, to bring them up a level. And so they know what's at stake. They know what they're fighting for. Maybe it's not their time yet, but when they come out of that match, it might not be their time, but they are closer to their time if they proceed the right way throughout their career. So giving them the taste, maybe dangle that carrot a little bit, see what it's all about. But watching people get better in real time, like in the ring with them, from nerves and apprehensions and kind of like unsure of themselves to like halfway through a match, feeling them completely change and morph and being confident in who they are and poised and in control and, letting the emotions take over. It's cool to see.
What do you find more satisfying for you personally? Is it when you see somebody you're helping with enhance themselves in the ring, or enhance themselves as a persona, that whenever you give advice?
I think those go hand in hand. I guess if you mean persona based on
charisma, getting their themselves across, basically. Yeah.
Really, if they're in the ring at that point, if they're not ready, they're almost ready. So you can expect, I guess, like a certain level of talent to be there. But what holds a lot of talent back is their inability or their fear of being fully themselves. So I would definitely say the persona aspect, where they're coming out of their shell so much as like, I am a wrestler and I need to do what the agents tell me, or I need to listen to what fans say, or I look at my Instagram comments and these things. And when they could throw that away and fully live as their self-actualized in those moments, it's far more fulfilling.
Yeah, I could believe that. What was a moment for you that happened that you kind of came out of your shell? Was there a certain person that helped you, or was there just over the course of time again, or what happened?
There's like, what I like to tell the young wrestlers, because I guess I'm older now, it kind of comes in plateaus, right? So you get to like a level good, and then you're kind of there for a while, and then something happens where you take a big leap, but then you're there again, and you take a big leap, you're there again. So it's a lot of arduous work over a long period of time before you like see a significant jump. But when they happen, it's very noticeable. I can think of a couple. One being maybe wrestling Daniel Bryan on NXT, where like I came up through FCW, so we wrestled each other all the time and stuff like that. But like now I'm in the WWE, but we're still on NXT wrestling the same guys I've wrestled with for 3 years in Florida sweatboxes. We're now wrestling a world-class talent. I'm like, oh, I see now. This is like, there's up a level. maybe going into Impact with a push, you know, like came in there like I wasn't just thrown to the fodder. I was like groomed to do something, so I was chosen. That makes all the difference in the world. But then the confidence came with it. The first time I was in the ring, cutting a promo, talking some shit, and here comes Sting, and I'm standing face to face with Sting, and I'm like, oh, and like I should be here. And I think the biggest leap, and maybe you heard me talk about it with Kurt, was working with Kurt. One aspect being kind of like a go home promo we did, where I remember this promo was like written by the writer. He hands it to me, and I'm like, not doing that. I didn't even look at it. And Kurt, you know, it's very photogenic memory. So he'll read a thing and we got it, and he's good. But there's this promo I've had in my mind for years and years and years on Kurt Angle, and I just so happen to be in the ring with Kurt Angle, where I'm just going to take a shot and I'm going to speak from my heart. This promo I've been cutting in my rear view mirror, this promo I've been cutting in the shower, this promo I've been cutting in the gym. Like, so being in the ring with Kurt, cutting that promo, and him being like, what are you talking about? This is not the script. But then him like realizing it and kind of feeling the moment, and then stepping in the ring with him obviously was a huge leap. Being able to fortunately defeat him, a huge leap. But I think the biggest leap came, the biggest validation of all, is when I talked to Kurt later on, and he compliments a lot of things about me, where if the greatest, one of, if not the greatest wrestler of all time thinks I'm pretty good, then nobody can talk shit to me ever. That will affect me, because that guy thinks I'm good and he's one of the best. So I don't care what you think.
That's it too, man. He took like it to like a fish to water. And that's, you know, you'd think that would be easy to do for like an Olympic wrestler, but you look at like how much like somebody like Gable Stevenson struggled, and like other premier athletes getting in the ring and trying to do it. It's not that easy transition. And what's so funny too about Kurt is, you mentioned it, he has like a photographic memory. So anytime as a fan, if you're watching him like in the early days, it feels like he's coming with that stuff off the cuff. Here, he's got a lot of that all memorized, and then that's super impressive.
He's truly a cyborg.
Yeah.
He's a robot, but he's got a real heart.
Yes, he definitely does.
It is funny too when he mentioned like Kurt took it to it like water. How many premier athletes, you know, D1 scholarship athletes came in through, whether it was the Performance Center or FCW. How many, like, dude, I remember in FCW, we had this world famous millionaire cricket player come in. He wanted to wrestle. So John Laurinaitis brought him in to try out. And like 15 minutes into like beginning his wrestling training, he took a body slam and he landed, and he's just like, oh, he rolled out. He's like, nah, I'm good.
What?
Like, yeah. And then there's like these like gigantic NFL caliber linemen are coming in, and, you know, I'm a good athlete, but like I didn't play in the NFL, but like they're in my turf now, and you're running circles around these premier athletes, blowing them up and doing things, because what we do is so, I don't know, intricate and unique, and it requires a different set of athletic skills and a different set of performance skills, obviously. So yeah, Kurt took to it. Very few do. And I think there's just an innate thing inside where people get it or they don't.
Yeah. That's such a huge thing of it too, is like you either do understand it and you don't. And even Kurt starting off, he didn't get like what the aspect of like, hey, how do you portray yourself as a star in certain ways, or how the business actually worked. But once he got all that together, he was just a natural. He just picked up on it like that. It's
you think about it, he's a year in and he's wrestling Stone Cold, The Rock, you know, Triple H, like, that is a crash course in like high level education in this shit. So.
It really is. You can't get, that's baptism by fire right there.
True.
Yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, just being the NWA champion and everything. Is there a certain champion that you look back on that you have a newfound respect for, that maybe you wasn't necessarily on your radar at that juncture, or is there something like you kind of being a part of that history? Did you get an added appreciation for the history of the NWA?
I would say doing some historical research, because I grew up a WWF fan more than the NWA. Obviously, like Flair's and Dusty's, well aware of and researched that. But I think looking back at the time, I got into Harley Race a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be one, like, obviously I knew of, but I didn't go out of my way. It was before my time. But now that history is our greatest teacher, like, I look back at some of the stuff he did and I'm like, it resonates now. And it's like, oh, and he's kind of older, so he doesn't want to fall down as much. So he's doing these things instead of just getting hit hard and hurting. I see what you do there, boss.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Bells and whistles on God's green earth right there. Let me see here. Oh, somebody asked a fan question here. If you came back to TNA and had to defend the 10 pounds of gold, is there anybody in particular on that roster right now that you'd like to defend it against?
Well, after I whooped Moose's ass for the umpteenth time, you know, I really wrestling Eddie Edwards.
Yeah.
You know, I think rejuvenated coming at the strap would be really good for him. You know, Nemesis there, right?
That'd be cool. Yeah, he's there.
Cool little fiasco.
That's
so
nice.
Those are a couple of guys. Yeah.
A couple of Ohio boys doing it up, right?
That's true. Yeah. He is from Ohio. Yeah.
That's right. Speaking of, I'll touch upon this real quick.
Josh Alexander would be good.
He would be. Oh, yes. And also a Kurt Angle guest.
Yes. I briefly touched him in some crazy 4-way in Canada once, but I was like, oh, yeah, you're pretty good. All right. This would be good.
Ooh, yeah, definitely. The walking weapon, man. Speaking of which, you're Cleveland I almost called them the Indians. The Guardians are the Indians. Yeah. Number 1, 5 All-Stars. Very integral in the game, too. Wanted to ask you, though, since we haven't talked in like 4 years in an interview, what do you think of the new baseball rules?
I don't like all the pitchers going down.
No, that's not good.
All the Tommy Johns, especially because we lost, our ace. My dad is a huge baseball fan, and he's old school as hell, so he naturally loathes it. I do understand the need to kind of like apply to the mainstream because baseball is one of the best sports, whereas 3.5 hours is a lot of time for somebody to invest. Where, like, does it bring more attention to the game? Yeah, then it brings more fair weather fans. But I don't know if you've ever been to playoff baseball. There's nothing like it. So if there's an enthused fan base, just because they're new doesn't mean it's bad. So I understand them. I think the players should have more of a say in them before they're applied, as opposed to, like, how does this work for our physical safety? But I can live with them.
Yeah. I've been to several Pirates games already this year and last year too, and it's like the games just move pretty quick, and it's like, hey, there's more I can do after the game's over.
And that's like when I run a NWA Exodus show. You go to an indie show, sometimes you're there for 4.5 hours, 5 hours. I'm like, we're done in 2.5. That's it. And we're going to start at 6. That way I can attract people that are not gigantic wrestling fans, but want to see something. But then I still want to go out afterwards. I want to get dinner, or I want to get some cocktails. It's Saturday night. I don't want to be at a high school gym till 12 o'clock, So I understand the need to kind of expedite. We are an ADHD culture. There's a lot we can blame to that, or there's a lot we can just accept and make things a little more expedited.
Right. Yes. Talk about Exodus, though, and working with that and how that's been for you so far.
I love it. Like, before we got on here, I was writing up the show we have Saturday, 7:20. NWA Exodus presents New Religion. I love being able to facilitate ideas and platforming a bunch of young, aspiring professional wrestlers, creative entities. I love the fact that I've been on the other side. So the way I produce or write or create is unlike they'll get anywhere else, because it's very much an open collaboration where I'm kind of like picking their brain on what they think would happen. How would you react in these situations? And kind of that's what's making it so special, because everyone has input and say. And at the end of the day, if there needs to be a creative hammer, I'll lay it down. But more so, I like to see people try things, be different, be outside the box, be eccentric. If it's too far out, we can pull it back. I mean, providing an atmosphere too that's like, don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
WWE or NXT or developmental, every day you take the wrong step, you're afraid for your life. You're going to lose your job. Or if you're wrestling on TV, one wrong step, one missed move, and you're getting you effed up chance, and like your Instagram or X timeline fills up with Butch. It's like, shut up, dude. Like, shit happens. Yeah. Where like, I don't want people to be afraid to fail. Okay, you missed the arm drag. Who cares? Like, keep going, because it doesn't matter. What matters is you come out of it better, and what matters is you come out entertaining the fans, building a rapport with them. So I love to be on that aspect of it.
That's a good key of it too, is just connecting with the fans is primary. It's like, that's how money's made. That's how creative gets done. It's a lot of different things. It's kind of like in this kind of promoter role and doing kind of things like that. When you look at, when you see kind of the reception that all these major promotions get when it comes to getting criticized for creative and getting criticized for what booking decisions or anything like that, has it kind of gave you a little bit of realization, like, no, fans kind of don't understand that delineation of like how things work. I can understand what's going on with these certain promotions. Does it kind of create more of an understanding there, if that makes sense?
Very much, because I can see it both ways. I could see one end being, I've been under creative, tyrannical structure and power, where I wouldn't really say this. Can I say this? Absolute no. And then I've been on places where creative freedom, where that allows people who are not really ready for it, or understand the point of the business to do, is being lost by you creatively being free to exploit the business or not do it properly. So there's a dichotomy, I guess, there. I could see, whether it's Tony or Trips, Billy, whoever's running TNA, like, they invest a lot into the talent, so they should have the order and the structure and the final say. But what I've noticed too is that it's really easy to simply collaborate with the talent and get their perspective. Whether you agree with it or not doesn't matter, because you can make the final call. But by hearing their ideas and their kind of like visions of themselves, you can better facilitate people to, yes, maybe this person's winning, going over, but in the same light, I can have this person get over in defeat by doing this. And then that is kind of the lost sauce of the business, where something happens, everybody benefits one way. Like, it's not about just who wins and what they do, but like, what are the consequences in the context of losing that make you do something else?
Right. See, like, there's been so many tournaments across the board when it comes to, AEW, WWE, all that stuff. You can see some elements where, hey, there's storytelling aspects that are getting told in these tournament matches where somebody loses and it means something. But then there's another flip of the coin where some of these matches don't mean anything. And you want to make sure everyone one of them means something for the winner and the loser.
And I think too, like, talent sometimes feel rigid in the structure around them, where if it's like you have an 8-minute match, like, you can make it mean something if you tell the right story. And you can have a great match in 5 minutes. You really can. You can have a great match in 3 minutes. You can have a 5-star match in 8 minutes if you just do it right. Like, so if you're given nothing, sometimes I think it's the best thing. Like, we just want you to have an 8-minute match, he's over. Well, then I'm going to figure out how to make sure this all makes sense to me if they're giving me no direction. That's kind of the best place you can be if you creatively want to try yourself. So what's the story of the match? I don't know. I got real mad when the guy hip tossed and arm dragged me out of the ring, that I kicked the steps, and now my foot's broken. And so now I'm working the match with a broken foot. Oh, I'm losing? Well, of course I lost. I broke my foot. All right, I'm protected in defeat. Very easy. And how do you convey that? Talk to the announcer. And when I kick the steps, I'm going to break my foot. Okay, they'll tell your story. Then, I don't know. It's a plausible way, if you're doing the favor, to kind of protect yourself.
No doubt about it too. Yeah. And it's still like, you're not taken away from the other person winning, but you're just, hey, it's a business that you got to, in certain ways, look out for yourself a lot of times. So
if I didn't have that busted foot, maybe I would have won.
Maybe you would have won, right?
that guy went on to become champion. Well, now my foot's better, so maybe I deserve a shot because I almost beat him with a broken foot.
Right.
It's really like one thing I think people, there's a hierarchy, I guess, of wrestling needs, I like to call it, where at the bottom of this pyramid, it's big. It means a lot. It's the wrestling. It's probably number 3. Above that, number 2 in your little triangle is the story. What is the story? And the top of the triangle, the most important part, are the characters. So if you have characters that people care about or hate, love, whatever, they're invested in, the story is pretty easy to tell, and the wrestling's going to be great no matter what. So
yes,
with great, you can have great wrestling, but if the story, there's no story and the characters no one cares about, you're watching 2 dudes in underwear slap each other and hit each other and drop each other on their head, which is cool, but it's not great.
You need to make a shirt or an actual chart that has that, I think.
I think I do.
Yeah.
I need a graphic designer.
Okay.
I'll get the guy that did the Illuminati triangle. That'd be cool.
There you go. Get it. I'm sure he's easy to get a hold of. There we go. We gotta look into it. Let me see what else. Oh, yeah. Any contact with Uganda or the soft ground wrestling since you last expressed interest?
Yes.
Ooh.
Here's the okay, like as friends here watching this, and obviously like NWA can't fund me to go to Uganda. Obviously, Uganda soft style isn't a wealth of financial means.
Right.
Would it be obtruse that if they pick a challenger who deserves a shot, like they go through the roster and they pick their guy, and he has a great story, that a GoFundMe came about to facilitate this match? Because I would do it in a heartbeat. So yes, there's been contact, and I'm trying to figure out how to make that happen. So whether a wealthy investor wants to fund it or we crowdfund it, I don't know, but it's going to go down.
I think it makes a lot of sense. You're the traveling champion. You've been all over. Why not do Uganda?
I mean, just covered in mud.
Right.
Just whatever. I want this.
Have you ever had to wrestle in that kind of environment? Like where you do like just a dirty atmosphere?
Yeah, in college, but it was not professionally. I'll show you that. I mean, I did backyard wrestle, but like even then we had a mat at least.
Nash told a story. Kevin Nash told a story one time where they wrestled at like a rodeo or something like that, and they literally had to shower off with like a hose that was there.
That's awesome. I think the content would be legendary too. So,
right?
You know,
definitely.
How's the food in Uganda? Does anybody know?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Because I just came back from Italy, and that's hard to top. So,
oh my god! All right, so I've never been to Italy. I'm Italian. My part of my family, I think, is from Sicily. The other one's from the middle of the boot. What did you like? What was the best part about being in Italy there?
I was in northern I would say Verona. Okay. So what I liked is I wasn't in a fully touristy area. Like the touristy place would have been Verona, where we walked around and saw the Coliseum. They have a Coliseum there too. Pretty cool. Bunch of stores. But when we did the show, it was kind of like an outskirts city where the entire town showed up. And there's like food trucks and vendors, and the mayor's there giving a speech. And I think he gave me the key to the city, and I don't think I returned it. There's like 1,000 people crammed in this building, probably 800 never seen wrestling in their life, and they were just super into it. So that was really cool. And then we're just in the hills. The food was fantastic. It's not processed. There's no unnecessary chemicals in it. So I ate like hell, and I didn't feel awful until I overindulged. But like normally I would be like, I'm going to eat 400 grams of carbs, and I ate them, and I'm like, I still feel great. So I'm going to have 300 more. Then I felt bad. But addiction aside to carbs, the civilian women are all attractive.
I believe it.
Like, I was like, wait. When I'm in the airport and I'm like, the gate attendant is a 10. I'm like, what is this? Am I on Richard Branson's airline, or am I flying Air France to Paris? Like, because this is boggling my mind. So pretty cool place, and I recommend it.
So the women, the food, the atmosphere, all good.
Yes, if there was a man who had a farm and he said, hey, man, I'm going to let you live on my farm. You're going to have a weight set in the barn. You're going to farm the land. going to teach you how to live off the land. You're going to marry my daughter. You're going to have no technology. You're going to raise a couple of kids that are going to play in the mud, and you'll live happily ever after. And I've been like, sign me up immediately.
You just don't want it to be like Michael Corleone in Godfather 1.
Right. That's a good point.
You wouldn't want that to happen, though.
Yeah. And the cannolis.
Oh, I believe that.
Gun. I took the cannolis.
One of our One True Sport members, Brad Staten, has a question. He asks, in WWE, there was a hint of you and Mandy Rose in an angle. Was there anything supposed to happen there? Do you recall that?
Myself and who?
Mandy Rose. I wasn't sure what he was talking about. But
I kind of blacked out all those terrible memories. I would say no. I would say, like, sometimes when we see or hear an idea might happen, like something said in speculation, which is a hard thing to deal with talent. Like, talking to a talent's like, yeah, that'd be a good idea. And a talent, because wrestlers are kind of delusional, think that means it's immediately going to happen right away, and it's definitely happening, and I'm made, and it never happens because conversations happen, ideas get thrown, shit gets thrown up against a wall, it sticks or it doesn't. So with Mandy, I don't recall. I think she was always destined to be with Otis, to be honest with you.
That was a match made in heaven right there.
True to life. Art imitated life.
That's it.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
One beautiful, beautiful thing there. Well, I added this question in. Did you ever fantasy book a sequel to Major League?
Yeah, it was actually Major League 2, except Omar Epps wasn't in it. Wesley Snipes was back.
That's the best one. You got to get the real Willie Mays Hayes there.
Yeah, and maybe we took it all the way to the World Series, you know. Yeah. Major League 2, underrated, really. Jack Parkman, when he makes that swivel all the women in Cleveland go crazy. When he does this swivel all the women in Cleveland puke. I don't know. Anything with Bob Uecker is probably going to be good. So,
oh, my God, yeah. I can't believe he's still commentating.
He's 79, right?
I think he's older than that.
Okay, he's 85.
He's up there.
If I would, yeah. Serrano wouldn't have had such a bad year. I think the hero's journey for Charlie Sheen, Ricky Vaughn would have been a little more definitive. I don't know how they made the playoffs with all those spare parts. And I would have liked Lou Brown to be in it in its entirety too.
Oh,
so because this English shit, I love this shit. Major League 2 is good.
Yeah. Good. All right, you ready to hear how old Bob Uecker is?
Yes, 84.
He's 90. 90.
See what living a happy life does to somebody, though?
Right?
Apparently, I just read something about him where he was just the happiest guy. I don't remember what it was. Terrible story. But, like, it was just about how this guy was so welcoming and giving, and, like, kids came up to him, and he was talking to him, and he just, like, had a big smile on his face, and he's throwing the ball around at the kids, and he's just, like, happy as hell. And it's just, like, to have no worries, I guess. A stress-free life.
That's it. I actually reached out to the Brewers once to try to get an interview with him, but I got declined. Worth effort, though. It would have been a good one.
You shot your shot.
Shot my shot. That's sometimes you just got to try to do it sometimes. That's it. I'll close it out. Well, you mentioned you wanted to talk something in regards related to theater, right?
I don't know if the fans here know that you're doing a play, right?
Yes, correct.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
That's one thing, too, when, like, wrestlers, like, what can I do to get better? Like, especially if there's no wrestling training around them. Well, I'm like, take MMA classes and take acting classes. But live theater, live entertainment is like the true, I don't know. It's the scariest thing you can do sometimes. And it's really cool that you're going to go in there and do it. I don't know how many lines you have, if any.
Some, not a crazy amount.
But, like, every time you do that performance, and same thing with wrestling, maybe I'm wrestling the same guy on a loop of shows, but every time we go out there, it's different. Even if we haven't our ideas of what's going to happen, you don't know. And when something doesn't happen that's supposed to happen, and how you react to it is, like, the coolest. Like, how do you react to what has happened? And they say movie is the director's art, television is the writer's art, but theater is the actor's art.
Yeah, that's it. That's good. What way to put it too. You know what? It's neat because I'm not a very athletic person. So I always did theater as a kid, everything like that. So getting that, obviously I can empathize, but seeing like getting instant crowd reaction when you're in the theater in comparison to being behind a camera or like in front of a camera and anything like that, it's super. You get that, but you also mentioned the aspect of like how do you react on the fly when things don't go as planned. And
Right.
that can obviously happen in theater. Then obviously happens very much in the ring. So it's like there is that added element to it, and it is super great. That's such great advice to give somebody too. Absolutely.
There's a lot of like times wrestling when we're doing this world tour, like when it's TV, you need to know a lot or plan a lot for a match. But like if it's not dire TV, I really don't want to know what's going on because it's the only time I have fun is seeing how this happens and reacting to it and thinking on my feet and where are we at and how's the crowd reacting to these things. And that's like the true, I don't know, channel. Like I've had planned matches 100 times. I've had planned matches. I had 5 fucking stars. Who gives a shit, right? But like truly enjoying it now is like when I'm 20 minutes, we know 3 things are going to happen. Let's see what happens. And that's what I try to encourage people to do too. Granted, you're not going to have the picture perfect GIF heavy match with the intrusively choreographed high spots that maybe people like. But at the same time, when you walk to the back, you're going to feel a huge sense of accomplishment. And you can tell when a wrestler is thinking and when a wrestler is feeling. And when a wrestler is thinking in between spots, you can see it on their face. And I see it on my own sometimes. I'm like, why am I suck. Look at me. I'm thinking now. But when they're in the moment, like that's when the great things happen. So try to stay in the moment.
Stay in the moment, live in the moment, do what you can. And I don't think to be too hard on yourself either a lot if you're a wrestler trying to get things going.
Don't be.
Yeah.
Man, we're training sometimes and these people are like overanalyzing and beating themselves up because like this, like stop, shut up. I'm like, shut up. Right. If you want to do it right, do it again. That's fine. But who cares? Because you're not injured. You learned what not to do. It's done. I'm not sitting here like I don't have money to pay you. So it's not like here's your contract. I'm going to rip it up because you flubbed a, fucking hip toss. It's like, just relax and like, let it come to you.
That's it. Pump the brakes. Everything pans out. It works out.
Right. It's a crisis of confidence in our culture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think confidence is the most important thing a wrestler can have over even ability sometimes. Because if you're confident in what you're doing, people are going to notice it and people are going to resonate with it. Yes. And there's a vast majority of people that watch that are not scrutinizing the way you did a drop down. There's a vast majority of people who are watching to see somebody confident in themselves, larger than life, that they want to emulate or they want to see be defeated. So.
That's it. They're living vicariously through you. And if you have the confidence to portray the role that they hate or the role that they love, they're going to connect with you in some form or fashion.
Touche.
Yeah. All right, Ethan, is there anything else you want to plug ahead of time?
I don't know. NWA 76 is going to be up in Philly. So if you're in the area, make sure you check that out. That is 8/31, 8/24 in Cleveland, Ohio. We're going to have our NWA Exodus anniversary show. So that's going to be a big show. Coming off the show we do this Saturday, there's going to be some pretty cool match announcements that are going to, intertwine some intricate personalities of wrestling. So that's going to be cool. What else? I don't know. NWA TV on the CW app. Download the app. Follow me on social media, even though if I barely post, at The Real EC3. It takes so much to post shit. I need to know. If you want to be my intern, please DM me immediately.
There we go. Hey, we got some interest members here, I'm sure. So,
great.
So,
unpaid.
Right. Yes, that's right. Unpaid. All right, guys. Hey, we'll see you next time here on OneTrueSportTV.com.